all right. Shout out to the family out there on this Tuesday, June 23rd. Couple
Yes.
of days after the summer solstice, couple of days after Father's Day,
Yes.
couple of days. What else just happened? Couple of days after
Juneteenth,
Juneteenth,
Juneteenth, and
uh,
also the beginning of Cancer season, which
and
is
the beginning of
a
Cancer season.
pivotal role.
Shout out to the Cancers. My mom was a Cancer, so I got a lot of love for
Shout out
Cancers.
to all the cancers out there.
Cancers are the
Um,
only.
a very energetic timeline that we're in right now, and yeah, something. Well, first I want to welcome Red and Blue to the platform. Haven't had y'all together on the platform in a little while, so shout out to the pills.
Yes, indeed. Salute to you. Salute to your audience. Shout out to Brother Red. It's always an honor when we have the opportunity to formulate like Voltron.
Indeed.
Shout out
To
to Cam.
they said I was watching a lot of videos. I mean, number one, let me just start out by saying Red and Blue, they've done a tremendous job detailing the music industry and Clive Davis in past shows. I remember when we did a show on Diddy and they did a breakdown on all of that. So it was only right that I get them on here so we can really dive deep into this music thing. This is our technology, family. I cannot say that enough that this is music is our technology. So it's a very important topic to discuss. They called Clive Davis the most evil man in the industry. So tonight I had to be righteous rich, y'all. Tonight I had to unveil righteous rich because the evilest man that made his exit in this realm. Just to start out with, man, y'all talked about him before. What's your thoughts on the particular timing of Clive Davis making a transition, and energetically will that open up something that we've been looking for in terms of black music?
I think you can feel it already. Go ahead, Blue.
The Nixon 5, Clive is no longer alive. Go ahead, Red.
The Nixon 5, we smoking Nicks of Clive. You know what I'm talking about? This is in direct alignment with everything that is taking place that you see in New York City, where after 53 years, you know, the city has won the chip. Coincidentally, around the same time that the city won the chip the last time, hip hop was created out of that celebration. Around that time, hip hop was not it was not co-opted. It did not have it did not have the type of energy. It did not have the type of karma. It did not incur the type of quote unquote horror stories, because we really had Scott LaRock as our rock that everybody was collectively mourning and whatnot. He goes down in the record books as one of the first rappers that died. I don't know if he's the first, I don't know, but he's one of the first that affected the entire culture at once, right? KRS-One's Scott LaRock. And at that time, we didn't think rappers could die. So that was a shell shock to everybody of my age demographics. And then, you know, the culture got infiltrated, and it got corrupted, and it got co-opted. And there's a marker in time where some vibrations or some frequencies cease to exist, and then other vibrations and frequencies got turned up very loud. And then there's also time or a marker, a cultural marker, not a critic's marker, but a cultural marker, meaning that the culture could collectively agree that this was a time that everything shifted. And that time happened to be what is known as the bad boy era. And that was the early 90s, ladies and gentlemen. And then there was a young upstart by the name of Sean Combs, who had a machine behind him, a machine that people never saw before in the history of hip hop. The way that it was able to move things, the way that it was able to fund things, the way that it was able to be everywhere, all the time, all at once. That machine, ladies and gentlemen, is Mr. Clive Davis, that man, that goblin that you see right behind me, that pack of runts that people are putting in the air right now after they finish smoking that Wimpy pack. But listen,
Wimpy pack.
huh?
You said Wimpy pack.
Go ahead, Blue.
And what makes it so metaphysical and in alignment is that that record label, Arista, started out with the very first person that it signed was Gil Scott Heron, who was the godfather of rap. And
Mm.
his sonics, his expression, and his message was famously being suppressed by Clive Davis. Clive Davis, after the Harvard report was commissioned in 1972, by recommendation of the CIA to investigate the frequency of black music, Harvard made a report for CBS Records under Clive Davis so they can research the marketability of the black market or the black music market based on what Berry Gordy had did. He showed them like how Sinners has showed Hollywood that there's a black market for black films dealing with melanated people and topics. Berry Gordy with Motown, show improved with them with the crossover appeal of Diana Ross into white um, crossover markets, that there was a crossover potential also with black music. They didn't understand black music. They didn't know how to get into black music. So Harvard commissioned a report, and it's called the Harvard Report. And the family can look this up. It's written by a man named Logan Westbrook. And Logan Westbrook was a melanated man. He was one of the first black executives that they hired and they brought over so he could share information as to how to penetrate the market. This is a very detailed report about how deep they research who we are, what we are, and why we do what we do. A lot of people are circulating the CIA documentation of their research on metaphysics. All of that is tied initially to these reports as well. They studied us, our modulation first, and then they commissioned Harvard to commission Clive Davis to quote unquote take the soul out of soul music by what? Bringing in the digital medium. So here we are in this digitized world where they have removed annotation, they have removed the thing that Jay Dilla was the undomestication of music and it not being so syncopated and synthesized. They took the live instrumentation out. They took life out of music, and this was a strategic plan. And him being a 44 resonator, him being born on April 4th, 1932, he also implemented the A44 hertz frequency across all of his labels and all of his music, taking it out of the 432 hertz spectrum, which is what the rhythm that will what create rebellion in your heart. It's
I
the
thought I
liberation.
thought Rockefeller implemented the 432 Blue.
Rockefeller implemented it in 1955 and they made it a standard, but there was still artists that were slipping through because everyone wasn't coming through the corporate system. When they co-opted and had the Harvard report to co-opt black music, they also co-opted small independent music because Berry Gordy at the time was a successful independent that was coming out of pocket. He was fighting the majors. The majors wasn't into black music yet. This is when the crossover happened. Clive Davis is the architect of the Matrix.
He's the matrix, right? If there's an architect of the matrix, if consciousness is built around sound, and he is definitely the architect. He was the one that put it together. He implemented it. He built the framework. He built the foundation. He laid There's no all the IVs. Everybody who comes later, they come after him.
Yes, they put the tools in his hand. They put the
Right.
execution in his hand. He ran the play. And this is before hip hop even comes. And
Right.
then he ran the play. And this is after he was already legendary for dismantling things in the 60s and the early 70s. He was already federally indicted for quote
Right.
unquote payola, creates the payola pay to play system that culminates in the lawsuit with Drake as of recently. Like I said, all roads converge yesterday with the demise of this individual on the first day of summer. We cooking.
I could do you even better, Blue. Not only did he go down for a payola, he went down for a drugola. He was one of the first executives that went down for a drugola. He wasn't paying them. He was giving them boy.
You think he
Yeah,
kept Whitney? You think he kept Whitney high? I heard that. You think?
absolutely.
Do a wing keep a bird high?
Mm.
Do
It
wings
was
keep birds
reported.
high? Yeah.
Somebody came into my comment section.
Mhm.
My apologies, my good brother.
Go ahead, my brother.
Right. Someone came into my comment section yesterday and said that Gil Scott personally told him the first person that he got coke from was Clive Davis.
Oh
Clive
shit!
Davis.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Godfather,
Right.
this is important. This is important how this comes full
Oh
circle.
shit!
The godfather of rap, who is a son of a famous soccer player, right? The illest spoken word artist, lyricist, and revolutionary musically of his time, Gil Scott Heron. I don't know if people understand the gravity of what he represented at the
Right.
time that he was cooking,
Right. When he was
in the
cooking.
threat of what his intellect represented. So Santana and the rest of these people that went and signed to these labels, because Gil Scott made this move to, be
To the majors.
associated with to the majors with Clive Davis at the time. He launches Arista Records with him after he gets kicked out of CBS Records for utilizing. He embezzled money from them and paid for his son's bar mitzvah.
Right.
So this is after the drugola and all of that. So they kick him out, right? He writes a memoir. He kicks back. He gets bread sent to him. He gets an infusion of bread, and he launches Arista. And his first artist is Gil Scott. He pretends to be down with him because Gil Scott is bringing that heat. It's in the season of, when again the background frequency supported that, but when the politics changed, it was pressing him to change his message. So the person that's responsible for conscientious rap, message rap, because the message comes out of all of that. You got Gil Scott, you got the Last Poets, and you got the message. Hip hop is composed of two lanes: it's party and bullshit, and it's the message, right?
Right.
The Last Poets leave you with party and bullshit as a song that's a parody about giving up the revolution to party and bullshit. Biggie Small comes later on, right after the message, as a representation of party and bullshit, creates a song called Party and Bullshit or Uptown, and then jumps over to quote unquote Arista and gets signed by the label executive that was responsible for the artist that's associated with that energy, but that he had conflict with and he had issues with, but also introduced him to the Yay or the Boy, and then he empowers the illest crack rapper of all time in the form of Biggie Smalls, who creates a genre and a branch, a tree that is still full today. And when we talk about the ratchetness of New York, let's discuss the sonic frequency that supported that. It was called the Bad Boy era. So his thing was this: I'm gonna catalog, I'm gonna capture this soul, right? And then I'm gonna create this false reality with this glitz and this glamour, the way that he perfectly packaged his artists going forth. They said Whitney couldn't be Whitney, right? Everything was commercialized now. They were giving people the script, telling them what to do. Luther happened the same way later on in his career. So they're dying out of despair because they can't use their voice, they can't use their expression, and they have not even know that they in the background have particularly probably got caught up in these soul contracts. Because I showed the truth without a shadow of a doubt. I showed the scene out of the Whitney mute. I did a screenshot. It's on my IG page. And it's a scene out of the Whitney movie that just came out, which he executive produced. I always explain the Law 44 is about what? Putting people in a box within a box within a box, the Tesseracts or the Black Cube, the Cosmic Cube. Why he got a picture, a poster of a Cosmic Cube with Whitney sitting underneath it when he signs the contract. It says, this is in perpetuity throughout the known universe. Why would they explicitly put that?
You making this shit up? You making this shit for real?
You know me, I got receipts.
We got fact checkers out there. They ain't gonna let it.
Right now, I got the screenshot up right now. If you could pull that up on your in due time, if you could pull that up, the post is up there. So I'm showing without a shadow of a doubt that he's a sorcerer who knows his Kabbalistic powers and energies to put people in the black box. And
Oh,
that's what this entire music industry. If I show you the family tree, let's just do a run through real quick, because it might be some youngins in the building and they be like, who's this person? This person has their fingerprints on the last 60 years of quote unquote transformational music.
60
Um,
years.
right.
They
yeah,
said going
like
back to Phyllis Hyman.
touch beyond that,
Beyond
right?
that,
Beyond
Beyond
that.
that,
way beyond
beyond
Phyllis.
that. So the family tree consists of Miles Davis, Janis Joplin, Santana, Billy Joel, Bruce Springsteen, Chicago, Aerosmith, Earth, Wind and Fire, okay, Whitney Houston, Barry Manilow, Aretha Franklin,
Mm.
Gil Scott Heron, Dionne Warwick, Grateful Dead, Carly Simon, The Kinks, Patti Smith, Kenny G, and these are ones he's associated with. L.A. Reid and Babyface. They don't even got Gamble and Huff up here, and they don't got Earth, Wind
Right.
and Fire. L.A. Reid and Babyface, right? So you got from the Face Tony Braxton, Usher, TLC, Outkast, Pink, Bad Boy, Notorious B.I.G., Craig Mack, Faith Evans, Mace, Total, 112, Deluxe, right? Alicia Keys, Luther Vandross, Kelly Clarkson, Jennifer Hudson, Carrie Underwood, Harry Connick Jr., and that's just the name,
A few.
a
Look,
few.
and his heir apparent was Sean Puffy Combs, undeniably. With all of the influence that you just heard that he had in people's career, his heir apparent was Diddy. Similar to how Wexler and Epstein are together, that's how Combs and Davis were together. I worked at J Records in 2007 as an intern, right before my son was born, and that was his building and whatnot. Uh, that was Polo Ground Records, the same record that signed Hurricane Chris, and then later on signed ASAP Rocky and what's some boys, the ASAP Mob. Very interesting time.
Yeah. And I worked
Uh-huh.
at Epic Records when
That's
He was
Alicia
at Epic.
Keys. J Records, that's Alicia, right?
And J Record is Alicia Keys.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I worked at Epic when he was over at Sony. I've been in the elevator with him a few times. He got a hoof foot and he smells like sofa. And
Yep.
I know that he's everything that we saying he is, because he picked up on the energy and he felt very uncomfortable around the guard because my spirit was staring through him like.
Yeah.
And I care to mention that 2 days from now would be the anniversary of the transition of Michael Jackson. So in 2009, on or around this day, that's the last time I was in that building, walking by Michael's plaques on the way to the bathroom, 2:30 in the morning. Then I went to see Transformers 2 the next day, The Fall of the Angel, and the whole movie was about Michael.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, nah, I'm not going back in that building. And I went to 125th, and the rest is history. So
Same thing. Yeah, the same thing with me. I went to see my son get born. I was supposed to be back the next day. I didn't even call. I didn't do anything. Like I was done forever. And I was like firebun this whole building because just, you know what I mean? I never seen him. I seen him personally in the elevator and everything. And I was in a meeting with him before. But other than that, everybody always knew that Clive's energy was always demonic and whatnot. So we're not just talking about a piece on the chessboard. We're actually speaking about one of the kingmakers on said chessboard. It is of no coincidence that on summer, the beginning of the solstice, right after the Knicks win that chip after 53 years, this is almost like some hood Wizard of Oz thing because things are beginning to thaw out, right? Hip hop as a culture is directly attached to that chip. It seemed almost as if the Antarctic was thawed out, emotions that is, but inside of emotions is power. This is one of the first times that we've been able to see New York move with an effervescence type of energy on one accord and whatnot to be winners, not losers, born sinners, the opposite of a winner. We rooted for Biggie Smalls. We rooted for the Bad Boy era. We rooted for the aspirational rapper and whatnot. We
Right.
did root for the images and the you know, the vision that these record labels funded. Because remember those Hype William videos, you know, remember that high fashion and everything,
Bro,
huh?
right. It to add on to what you're saying, when you do the research again, how he uprooted Berry Gordy. So we talking
Right,
about them sinking ships. We talking about battleship level economic warfare on independent black music when the majors came in and swallowed up the independents. Rich, it was about the distribution mainly because
right.
what Berry Gordy had as an independent, he had his
Had
outlets.
a route.
Outlets were full of distributors. He had a route.
Right,
When the majors came in, they commissioned the Harvard report. The Harvard report told them to what? Centralize distribution. So they took all of the mom and pops out and then they centralized distribution. You know what I'm
right,
saying? So they carved them out the game. He didn't have the money to compete. So they always speak about the corporate takeover of industry. They flooded with cash. And with his the architect again was a melanated mind that was helping him as well because he was hired by CBS, and this is the brother Logan Westbrook, and he was just giving marketing advice. They had to flood the zone, flood the market. You know what I'm saying? So this is where it came. In order to take over quote unquote black music, you have to be on radio. In order to be on radio, you have to be on the playlist. In order to be on playlist, you got to pay to play because now it's about market share and you can't risk. It's not who got the hottest ish on the street. No, it's who's paying the most
who's
bread
paying the
to
most, right?
the spot on the playlist, and that's exactly where music is at to this day.
To this day. So that's what Clive and them came in with the money. Clive and them came in with the manipulation through the peyote, but he also was doing drugola. He was known to keep his artists on said drugs. He said the best artist to sign is one that has a habit because that way you'll have the publishing and that way you'll be able to control the narrative if you got to take care of them, take them off. Like Blue was saying, when we focus on Clive Davis and when people get into don't sensationalize that. I mean, the Whitney Houston thing is going to be spoken of. That's going to be attached to him. But you have to focus on the beginning of him. You have to focus on his inception and whatnot. You have to focus on the Harvard report. You have to focus on him being commissioned to do what? To do exactly what J. Edgar Hoover said, to prevent the rise of the Black Messiah. He was there to prevent the rise of the Black Messiah through the music, through the entertainment, through the frequency, and through the sound and whatnot. Not only was he a watchdog, huh?
Through the sonic frequency, yes.
Through the sonic frequencies, he manipulated the sonic frequencies and actually took over an entire quote unquote genre of music by way of CIA's quote unquote funding. The fact that they sent him to school, he was able to complete the project. They funded him for the project, and he was on his merry way to carry out whatever the operatives were. Right. So that's something that people really should be looking into. There's a lot of proof and receipts and information to help you in your research.
Just so we could get an idea of how important, how much of a commodity, how much of an asset black music is. When you have black music as an industry, right? And you have these other industries, where does black music rank with these other industries? You may have technology, you may have the oil industry, you may have the pharmaceutical industry. There's different industries. How important is black music in terms of all these industries? Where does it rank, you think?
Um, According to the Harvard report, they researched the music and they were theorizing all the way up to the year 2000, and they were like an overview. They were saying, well, how did they know that hip hop was coming? Because they were speaking in terms of this sort of music will be booming all the way up into the 2000s. So they know that we're technology, and they know that we have the ability to influence all of those other economic markets, right? Hence the fact that yes, even the meeting happened because they know that we was even going to be utilized to finance the what private prison pipeline industry, and that by proxy is going to fund the military industrial complex. And then you can see it all culminating today with this particular administration is showing you how they have been utilized, you know what I'm saying, with the corporate players and the technocrats and the people that got to dip in and out of the swag. The artists affect the elections. You understand? We think that.
As
Yeah,
a
if not more than cotton.
You know what I'm
Look,
saying? Hold on.
it's
Yeah.
not more than cotton. Intellectual property, right?
It's the platform, right? The same way that this is a platform, this is like an aircraft carrier, and you left F-35s off. You know what I'm saying? Nighthawks and Apache, like everything flies off the platforms. So, as a platform of expression and art as being the particular medium through which you can protect your expressions, even Kanye West is a focal point that we could look at. He's the last remnant of self-expression by way of, right? They trying to shut down the Tampa show. He mastered the paperwork. Right. So you come out of this saying, once you break the spell, what's the evidence of it? That you no longer are dealing with these people's sorcery by way of their contracts, their soul contracts, by way of their paperwork. So he reversed the paperwork on them and said that if they prevent him from doing the Tampa show, he sues them for 45 million, because in the paperwork he said that you can't judge me on my past activities. My freedom of expression is being infringed on, and the Constitution, which is another contractual document, paperwork, protects my freedom of expression. So as an artist, hip hop can't be hip hop if you can't speak your mind. Right. If you can't be the voice of the voiceless, this thing has ceased to exist. But this particular year, we have seen a transition on one leg of Africa Bambaataa representing the fingerprint of hip hop, where people say, yo, I ain't with that. And then Clive Davis is being the gatekeeper of the pantheon of the energy that what kind of reflects that frequency, right?
Connected.
Expression of an artist is also tied into, right? If you can talk and express yourself, you also have to be able to be yourself authentically. And these artists, because of their sexual suppression, have done things to the music and the frequency that has culminated in just like the illest world that we live in, from the politicians to the technocrats to the billionaires to the artists, right? They're all dealing with this aspect of suppression of expression, and the world has had to have paid for it because they all are moving what SD energy.
Oh Lord.
So the movie Sinners, to go to a reference point that we could all come to an agreement, right? The movie Sinners showed you everything that you needed to know in that question, Brother Rich, about what music means to other industries. There's no other industry, right? Because the oil industry is dealing with petroleum. That in and of itself is poison. That doesn't give life. It doesn't really appreciate and value. Music is IP. IP is like that cotton that you remember in Rapunzel that spins into gold and whatnot. Yeah. Intellectual property. Imagine Clive just sitting down, wrapping up songs in a gold wrapper every day and throwing them into a bank. He knows how to monetize a song 100 ways, mind you, right? This is Clive we talking about. Big job, Clive. Music, intellectual property. There's nothing that increases in value like your IP. Us, niggas, FBA, the blacks, the Juneteenth ones, the melanated ones. What are we known around the world as? Black diamonds.
Black diamonds.
You can export us, my nigga. You can export us and you can send us around the world. People come into America for FIFA to come and smoke some reefer with Aretha down in Khalifa. Yeah, they want to be around us. They know us from our culture. Our culture is priceless. Our music is priceless. Our IP. He had his way with people's publishing. Remember, he was the one that was behind setting all of those masters on fire when they implemented the streaming and whatnot. Remember that? They burned all of the masters in 2008. They call it the saddest day in music history, when they burnt down all of them. They burnt warehouses in California with everybody's masters. He was behind that, bro. You know what I'm talking about? This is, if they say that the music industry is the mafia, or if it is organized crime, then you looking at Meyer Lansky right there.
Yikes.
Listen, you and like everybody's saying, when the wicked witch dies, the power goes away. When these warlocks die, whatever these pots and whatever jars they have people in, that's beginning to dissipate. We are in a new timeline. This is 73 all over again. Remember, everybody from the 70s is playing. Donald Trump is in the news. The Knicks, 53 years later, they in the news. Clive Davis is in the news. Hip hop is in the news. Look at New York. New York is where hip hop started. Hip hop started in the same type of energy that you're seeing displayed in New York right now. When they saw that type of energy happen, and then a culture grew out of that energy of love, because you know it's like the sea, it's like the summer of love. But it's, you know what I mean? You know, that type of thing starts, baby boom. Yeah. It's hold on, Blue. Whatever the energy was when those Knicks won in 1973, when people turned up and they had disco, they had spoken word, they had the drums, they had some African, they had some Fela. You know, if you look at I looked at all of the music that was trending in 1973, like the top 10 black music. Marvin Gaye was popping, you know, the Isley Brothers was popping. Our music is a time machine. Fact. They told people to channel the music of 1973 in New York in order for the Knicks to win. My father would say, yo, when I was coming home from work, he was like, yo, you can't believe what I was hearing. I was hearing all of this beautiful jazz and this music from the 70s coming out of people's houses and their cars, and the young people was driving, playing the 70s music, channeling a time far gone. You know what I mean? Like, we are in a whole new procession of the equinox, but we're able to use time as a time. We're able to use music as a time machine. Music is a time machine that brings you directly back to a place and whatnot, an X and a Y, a Y and an X axis and whatnot, because you literally could remember. Once you remember, it's like opening up a portal, and that's where you could come into the memory and whatnot. But you have to remember, and the music is the vehicle that remembering is taking place. So he was controlling the vehicle, he was controlling the frequency, he was controlling our memories. So the same way that New York is beginning to thaw out with Clive Davis being gone, our whole entire music is beginning to thaw out. The musicians, you're going to see music being made this summer that's going to sound better than anything that you probably heard in the last 20 to 30 years. Facts. Something is going to be born in this same type of energy, the same way that hip hop was born. And by him making transition and finally checking out and whatnot, the dominoes are going to continue to fall. It's a few others that are going, but this is, if Puff was the magic dragon, my G, then this one right here was the grand dragon.
You know, there's a famous quote from Basquiat, and he said art is how we decorate space. He said, but music is how we decorate time. So that's fire, right? That's right. That's fire. Yeah. So when you said that, it made me think about quote.
Have we ever remembered a time where all of the OG artists were popping collectively? We call them legacy artists. Have you remembered a time where not just a few of them, they all popping and their catalogs is popping? They selling vinyl and whatnot. They going on tour. They're getting deals with like Supreme and, you know, all the Kith. You know what I mean? Have you ever remembered a time where they respecting elders? And it's not a New York thing. Juvenile in them is popping, right? People don't even look like they are aging and whatnot inside of, you know, a lot of these artists. But the artists from the 2000s are popping. Nostalgia is back. They are respecting the elder class. when a few years ago it was like F them old people, they can't eat around us, they don't got nothing to say to us. You had Andre 3000 saying, I don't got nothing to rap about. You know what I'm saying? But now with this Griselda revival, with this vinyl revival, Big Daddy Kane is popping, Fat Joe is popping, all of the New York rappers are popping, Bars is back. Like, what are we talking about? This is post Drake, mind you. The Max B is home. He's wavy. 1973 is when Chiron entered Taurus. And keep in mind, this is the fire horse year. Don't
what
forget
does that mean, by the way? I don't know because I'm not into astrology. Maybe Blue could talk about that. Chiron entering Taurus. Could you elaborate on that, Blue?
Well, Chiron is the sign of the wounded healer. And it deals with the head. It deals with the sign of Aries. And again, Clive Davis is the 44 resonator, not the resonator of all resonators, but he crystallizes my concept of what I speak about, where someone that's born under that frequency can mimic or have a hand in furtherance of that frequency. So he's born on April 4th, and he deals with locking people into the cosmic cube. Like I said, as evidenced by, if I could show you the footage, you know what I'm saying? Where do I have screen share ability on this?
Yeah. That was crazy what you said, man. Shit.
Yeah. Chiron and Aries in 1973 as well. It was Chiron and Aries in 73.
Yeah, because if it just went into Taurus, that means that originally it was in Aries. So the wounded healer in Aries, you know what I'm saying?
And they're saying real quick, Blue, they're saying Chiron is back in Taurus now.
Yes, so it's Chiron in Taurus. So this is dealing with the economic system changing, because everything is changing financially with the Clarity Act and the Genius Act. Things are going digital. So it's the crystallization of this digital epoch. But the digital epoch is tied into the mechanics or the mechanicals dealing with these royalties because of streaming music. So what are these catalogs worth once it goes changes from physical dollars to digital? And the artists whose blood, sweat, and tears went into these productions of this IP, they ain't get their bread when it was cash. They damn sure ain't getting their bread when it's digital. And they're building industry off of these catalogs because they're leveraging and hedging them and doing a lot of things, getting it ready for their plans for the future of how they're going to synthesize and digitize music and now still artist voice. The voice is the spirit. So they figured out 100,000,000 ways to grape an artist, and people is worrying about what happens in the back office. You know what I'm saying? It's graping you records through the whole thing, and everyone knew that. The music industry has been this all the time. We were born into this, and people still send their children to get eaten by Saturn. You know what I'm saying? And it hasn't changed. So it's like, but now there's an opportunity with artists able to leverage the playing field because of these digital tools that we have available. That's why it's so important that if we have the opportunity to do it, we definitely should do it.
Let me show you something, Blue. Speaking of raping you records, so it came out that the website, not Atlantic Records, it's just a website, scanned the database of they got like a watchdog committee, and it was an investigation of the books, videos, and other media used by the world's most powerful tech companies, Suno, all of them, to train their AI models. So lo and behold, 62 of Cambada songs, half of them he did with me, Manifesto, all of them, is used to train AI without our permission, without any of the independent artists' permission. They're taking our works and illegally training their AI models. So Raping You Records has extended into the AI era. Wow. Look at COVID 24, The Shaman, Marcus Garvey, Kanye's Inferno, Black Magic, our first song, Spellbound, Journey of Heru. Like, it just keeps going. Nigga Christ. Like, yo, so when y'all, like, this is insane, y'all. This is absolutely insane. There's something collectively independent artists gotta do, because this right here, and let's just put in let's put in our show Red Pill.
Wow.
Red Pillar.
Red Pillar.
That's crazy, son.
So they got 7 songs from Red Pill.
They got some of
China
the
Flow.
force. Yeah, they got
10
the
Summers. 24 Hours. That was the song I produced with him and Cambada. Lay Low.
Lay Low.
Sherman
Herman
Helmsley.
Hemsley. Free. Yeah.
Like, come on, y'all. So yeah, it's just to show you, like, this is like a new level of in perpetuity, or whatever that word is. You know what I'm saying?
So
Perpetuity.
when I was saying 2 years ago, you know, that I didn't want to put my stuff on digital streaming, and then we could get our own ISRC codes and our own IPIs. This was the reason that, you know, once you tag and bag your music, that you can get paid royalties forever, however they're being used, or you can put yourself in position where you can, you know, demand some redress if they're being used, but you have to own it to do that. So they're exploiting people who don't own it, because when they send it to DPSs, DSPs, they are contractually signing off, and those DSPs they're selling data to, you know what I mean, to the large language models and the people who consume large data sets. So we're getting caught up in the crunch. And it's a beautiful time to be alive, y'all, because if the pain point is painful enough, then we can break free. You know, this is the opportunity that's being afforded to us via this digital revolution. It's not just doom and gloom, but the sentinels are, you know, they're coming. They're, you know what I'm saying? The sentinels are at the door. So yeah, class action lawsuits, but we also have to put as much energy into owning our music so that we can protect it, so that we can sue their socks off, so we can catch them with their hand in a cookie jar. You know what I mean? And then contractually take your IP, and if you want to contract with them, then you can license and lease. It puts you in control, to be a controller, to be an owner, to talk at tables like bosses to them. But until then, we just got to understand that we are contractual slaves, because we got into these contracts and didn't understand what the fine print was. And that's the same thing that happened to every artist that came before us. And the only way to break the cycle is to break the cycle. But it starts here. So I want to say thank you for this opportunity. If I could share the screen right now, I'm gonna bring it full circle and show you that it's just not happenstance. Like, you know, this you just don't a lot goes into set design behind these movies. You feel me? Y'all can see the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
you just don't.
Blue wasn't bullshitting, y'all. I thought Blue was
You
bullshitting.
just, this is
Oh,
a cube within a
wow.
cube within a cube within a cube, right?
Okay,
Wow.
Blue. Okay, Blue.
You
Look
feel
at
me?
that boy
Like
working.
there's no happenstance, and he was the executive producer of this movie, and they said that
Damn.
he was hyper focalized over every detail of this movie. In this scene, this is where they made it seem like her father was responsible for the contract manipulation that later on jerked her and put her into the stress factor where she was overly abusing drugs because she was not getting paid, and they were sending her on tour like a dog, and it was tearing her body down, and she wasn't getting the bread, and he was piecing her off. But when they bumped her off, he benefited from the catalog. When they bumped off Luther, he benefited from the catalog. When they bumped off all of them,
Damn.
Shit.
he benefited from the catalog. By last estimate, they said that he was worth 850 million, almost
million,
like,
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's not even from what he gets from the black box catalog. This is the original picture. Now, this is the evidence that it actually took place, and he still was actually under a cube. I haven't found the full picture, but look at it. Is that a coincidence?
Hmm.
In April 10th, in Arista, in Aries, right? And Arista stands for Aries, and he's a 4/4 resonator who operates with the black cube.
Yo, just side note, just as music fans and music lovers, do y'all think Whitney Houston was the greatest singer of our lifetime? And if not, you got to tell me who is. I've asked around, and the word is Whitney Houston is the best. Do you agree? If not, who's above her? And in the chat, y'all can chime in.
I've never had an artist made me feel the way that she did when she sang "The Greatest Love of All,"
Mm,
and just as an innocent child that doesn't read charts,
yeah.
the way that it made my cells resonate, no other artist that have ever done that. So she has to be the greatest to me.
Again, these stories are very personal for me because they trace back to my development. Red to tell you, the very first album that I ever owned was Whitney,
Yeah,
and
we
the
had
thing that
yeah.
stuck out
First
the
album.
most,
First
the
album we own.
very first album I owned, it was a Whitney, and then we got LL Cool J. So I think Red was accountable for that, but I was accountable for Whitney, and Whitney, Penny, and Claire Huxtable were my psychological, like when I had a metric that I had to measure up to, like yo, I want to be the type of man that's able to, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
those was my
Mm.
crushes, but it helped my psychological development to be on par with what I felt and believed was the standard that it would take to be with a Whitney. I was crushing that hard. So that music carried through my entire life as being the sonic frequency that if I wanted to zone out and just hear a songbird, if I wanted to zone out and remind myself that they are earth angels, right?
Right.
People that have the vocal ability to use sonics to bend a clear audience, right? We're talking disclosure, right? Yeah,
Disclosure.
Right.
because I hear music different and it's at a visceral cellular level. And her sonic frequency, bar none, was the illest.
Yeah, she
And
was
again,
she was different.
when taking keep in mind this time last year, Luther was number one on the charts, and his documentary came out around this time last year. And I will also put on record that Luther sonically was one of the illest human beings on the planet.
Hands down. That my mother put me on. My mother used to listen to him all day, so that's how I got put on the Luther.
Luther was a problem.
You
Let's
know,
get
you know,
my
you
my
know.
my,
Yeah,
my
get.
one of my personification is Pill Pot Heron. Gil Scott Heron is by far one of my most inspirational muses for the responsibility, like in my mind, picking up a mantle of being that caliber of a spoken word artist is
Right.
all paying homage to this elder that had an opportunity to meet on 125th when we were out there doing our good works. And he transitioned shortly after that. Um, that was epic once again for my psychological development to meet this man when he was down bad around that time, and I didn't judge him. I put the same amount of love, you know, on his vessel and his being when I met him that I initially had for him as a seed when he was helping my psychological development to be revolutionary minded.
You know, just to shout out to everybody in the chat. By the way, we got 2,200 people in the chat, so we got a nice chat today. Yeah, I didn't see none of y'all put um nobody mentioned Mariah Carey. What's interesting about her is that her high notes are in a register called the whistle register, where it
Woo.
almost sounds like birds are chirping, and
Right.
it's the highest vocal
DJ.
register humans can produce. So
Right.
Mariah ain't nothing to F with either now. You know what I'm saying?
Mariah's all the way up there. And I also need to put on record if the family hasn't seen the Earth, Wind, and Fire documentary. And
See
the
it.
Must,
reason
yeah,
it's
that's a
so
must.
central to this conversation is that, and you had a panel conversation not too long ago about the origins of the conscious community. And I don't know if anyone attributes Earth, Wind, and Fire as being the originators in the general public for having a conversation around comedic science and transcendental mentalism. Like Maurice White was dropping it, right?
Dr.
He was coming
Valentine does.
Yeah.
yeah, he was coming back from psychedelic transcendental trips with information, and he was casting his performance and his stages with things that he was mentally encountering and seeing. He was being a straight channel and conduit for that energy and that frequency. And they played a instrumental role with putting that iconography out there and putting the sonics of what space sounds like and just the illest of frequencies. And again, a continuation of the soul movement and the soul revival, the transformation of Black music, all the way coming from the king of soul himself, James Brown. So even though they took instrumentation out of music and they put the synths in and they attempted to take soul out of music, hip hop would come along and sample what? The soul that was undomesticated, right? Unquantized. They would sample James Brown as the majority, so the rebel music still got through. They're scrambling and scraping like Puffy, trying to contain something that they can't contain, which was born out of the grain of what? Cultural revolution in 1973 in New York City, when the Knicks won the chip. And what? And the World Trade Centers went up when? On 4/4.
Right.
Come on now.
Right.
Phyllis Hyman, right? He stepped on her career. Anita Baker, he stepped on her career.
Oh, Anita Baker. Wow. I forgot about
Anita.
her.
Yes.
Forgot about Anita. Wow. Jesus.
Yes.
Man.
Like I said, I wrote an indictment for this dude, a posthumous RICO. If we want to get into that, just let me know.
You know, I'm kind of, I see the point. Like what Blue said, I heard a lot of y'all talk about them taking out the instruments and bringing in the synths. I heard Dr. Valentine talk about that on numerous occasions. But I'm a big synth guy, so I don't really agree that. As a matter of fact, when y'all was at my house the other day, I played the Scarface theme, and I told y'all that's one of my favorite songs. And that's heavy on this analog synths. So I don't, the synths, that's therapeutic as a motherfucker, man. So I'm not against the synths like that,
We're not going against the synths. We're just saying that they had established a plan and a design to take a particular frequency that still comes with live instrumentation, and synth stands for synthetic. So
synthesized.
It's a synthesized and synthetic form of an original play. Like if you play raw, it's not going to be perfect. When you put perfection and you take variables out of things, it takes the nappiness out of it. It takes that thing that sounds like records when it's playing. You know what I'm saying? It's too clean. And the thing that he was known for, once again, he made the funk clean. You can't clean the funk up. You know what I'm saying? It has to be raw and unregistered for you to be catching the notes within the notes. Everything can't be so syncopated. So you the illest of producers for what it is that you do, because you still are catching and channeling frequency, and we're operating now at a hyper speed. I'm not saying that. I mean, we also got to step back and say, yo, his catalog is illmatic. You feel me? He did a lot to push music forward, even if he had his hand in the jar. The nature of the business of commercialism and capitalism is the artist is always going to be exploited.
Right.
That's just the way that it is. It's never not been that, and it won't be that unless the artist takes every single thing in his own hands. And there's never been a time for him to do that other than now. So the artist owes an impetus. We started Black Box after Angie Stone transition, and then D'Angelo transition. And when you do the etymology on both of their names, they're both the angel. So are we willing to not see ourselves for who we are and continue to play these games? I will never take my IP to them, right? But I need to be doing every single thing in my power to make sure that I'm capturing my own power and then spreading that information amongst people that I see is the renaissance of music. I'm around people that I know represent the new frequency. You represent the new frequency. You can do with synths what they didn't intend to be done with synths, right? Because you still are attuning the frequency. You putting in 432. And you're not scared to pick an instrument up if you need to, or incorporate live instrumentation. Like when eBay do what he do, you can't program that.
Mm. No facts.
So we hip hop is about the mix and the remix.
Mm-hmm.
We just got to bring balance. What
Right.
they're doing is always going to be lopsided because you know what I'm saying. They're not picking up, the true creative inspiration that comes by way of people that are carbonated that can pick up that light spectrum and that light frequency, right? They're putting people in the box and they're robbing their light bodies. Okay, that's what the cube is. That's why the CD is plastic cellophane.
Yeah. Let me ask y'all something. I'm really in my mind. I was like, why would this brother do this? So much is out on Clive Davis. People were totally disgusted when Whitney Houston passed away and her body's upstairs and he's throwing a party in another part of the building or something like that. I forgot exactly what happened, but and they interviewed him and his answer seemed crazy. So there's
Right.
so much dirt to payola. It goes back way back. Why would
Jermaine Dupri.
icon that we have one of the best hip hop producers in our culture, like Jermaine Dupri, come out, make a video, and say BET should honor Clive Davis? I was a little confused at that. I'm wondering, and I'm wondering, why do you think somebody as influential like that will come out and still have us try to honor an individual like Clive Davis?
Um, you know, because like with the passing of a lot of iconic people in the industry or in different industry, there's going to be a split. There's going to be people who are saying that the story can't be told without honoring the contributions that were done and the connections that were made. Jermaine Dupri might attribute a lot of his entire career or the Atlanta scene was built particularly by LaFace, and that's something that Clive Davis invested and believed in. That's an engine that he helped drive. This again, he's the architect of realities across multiple dimensions and multiple eras and generations,
Right.
based on the investments that he made in the sonic frequency, because they were able to vicariously through artists program youth populations into conversations that they were mandating. Right when I worked at Epic, I've told this numerous of times, and this goes back into the so-called meeting that they say was had. Remember, there's two different versions that they say that the meeting was had. They said it was a meeting amongst executives. There was a
Right.
private meeting when they laid out to them what they wanted them to do with their artists, right? And get them to, speak about certain topics and hypersexualize and, things like that. And then they said that Crazy Bones saying there was another meeting where the artist was invited to the crib, and they said that crib was Clive Davis's crib.
Yeah, 1995, I think.
Yeah, I've been in the meetings. Like I was in Epic and we were meeting on Nipsey Hussle, and the lady came from upstairs, downstairs into the meeting room and
Yeah.
was like,
So
yo,
what?
he needs to say bitch more. He needs, he doesn't use enough nigger in it. We'll give him 50K if he takes that Malcolm X chain on and just get him Cuban links. And Big U was the one that stood up and was like, nah,
Should they
none of that gonna
wait,
happen.
blue? Because I don't. They told him to take off his Malcolm X change in a meeting and replace it. Like,
He was not in. He was not. The artist is not invited to the marketing meetings with the executives.
but
So
that's what
he
they
was.
wanted him to do.
Yes, that's what they was asking us as the executives of the label that he was cinematic music group that he was signed to, and we was like, nah, none of that is gonna fly. You know what I'm saying? You obviously don't know who he is as an artist, but they were attempting to make him marketable, and he had to fall in line with the design at the time, and that's what they were pitching, and they thought that they can get like Snoop Gang Banger type out of him, and he's always been the artist that you see, you know what I'm saying, that he crystallized to be, that the world knows him to be, and they didn't understand how to market that. You know what I mean? But if they're spending money on you, they have their own intentions. The person that ran the label was a banker. His name was Adam. He was the one that cut the checks. This is a Jewish dude that don't know nothing about the music. He knows about banking. And then he got his people, this his consultants and his acolytes. Again, this Jewish woman that came downstairs from upstairs, she's considered a music exec, but she don't know who, you know what I mean? Like, she's not from the culture. They're making executive marketing decisions based on how they want to see their money spent. And that's just the sorry truth of it all. You know what I'm saying? And artists either know this or or they need to know this. Yes, and we also have to note that this is Black Music Month as well and Pride Month. So Clive Davis, like I said, like all roads meet and his giving up the ghosts. You can smell the sofa.
His book ending.
Yeah, his book ending. Ding dong. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, there was this interview with him, man. He seemed mad predatory. Clive was talking, and he was talking in an interview. He was like, Bruno Mars has eluded us for the past 2 years. And I'm trying to get him to come. He wanted on some Diddy shit. He wanted him to come to his parties. So he was like, Bruno Mars kept ghosting him for his parties. And I'm like, the fact that he used the word eluded, I'm like, yo, this dude here, it sounds exactly like Diddy.
Lit it like exact. I'm trying to.
Yeah. Yo, Fab, you don't be partying with me.
You don't be partying with us, baby.
I wish I had a side by side. I wish I did, man.
He was doing the equivalent of what they said Diddy went to jail for, literally in the 70s. Please understand this. During that Studio 54 era, when remember this is the president of CBS. He's out of Brooklyn. You know what I mean? He's affiliated. He's out of Flatbush, Brooklyn. Right? Back in those days, the small hats was real deep out there. He's out of Harvard Law School. You know what I mean? President of Columbia, which is CBS, like Jay-Z said, one eye open like CBS. This is the 60s, y'all. The president at Columbia in the 60s. So he's lived multiple lifetimes on some vampire shit through multiple genres, through multiple eras and multiple ages, and has had a hand in crafting, right? Remember what David Icke said about this simulacra. He said that this is a crafted reality, that the reality that we're in is a simulation only because of the fact that a lot of people who are controlling the media and also controlling the quote unquote educational system and corporate America, they're the ones who keep these people inside of this proverbial zoo. So yeah, according to the gorilla in the zoo, that he's inside of a zoo and he knows that there's a zoo-like environment, but there's also an environment for that gorilla that he's not inside of. You know what I mean? So we're in an environment, but this is not a natural environment. There actually happens to be an environment waiting for us, but we're not in that environment right now. We're inside of this simulation, and these wizards, they've been playing a real good game in keeping us in this illusion. But man, oh man, this shit is falling apart day by day, y'all. I promise you. You're looking at nothing but dominoes falling. They cannot stop the awakening.
We talk, this is a metaphysical channel, and we deal a lot with, the sciences. And when you see somebody like Clive passing away, Diddy getting locked up, Bambaataa passing away, all in the same time frame, it almost seems like it seems so symbolic. And I guess it's like a contract. You know how they say we got soul contracts? It's almost like it seemed like their soul contract. They all came on the scene at a certain time, but they all leave at the same time. It almost seems like, wow, how they all just leaving all with one after another, man. Some interesting shit going on, energetic.
Yeah, once one bomb breaks, the others start falling by ways because one covers the other. Like when Clarence Avant left, right? When he transitioned, Then the
Yeah.
cover was off, the protection was off, and they started going for the people that are associated with that and breaking them up, right? And with him, yes, the time has come. Yeah, it has to fall brick by brick.
Yeah.
So these are just pieces of the puzzle, and they're very symbolic of when they happen and how they happen, so we can read the quote unquote, um, the lining, the silver lining of it all. And they say that those deals never last long. Those soul contracts, they run short, and then we're just watching the entities coming to collect, and
Mm.
they're cleaning, clearing house,
Mm.
right? It's culminating with, again, this new thrust. Hip hop is, yes, it's on the ropes. The AI revolution of music is upon it, and Suno did $3 billion last year.
Wow.
30 billion, some crazy numbers.
Crazy
Like,
numbers.
it's pressing on it. How are we going to go forward as an industry? We don't have the answers in terms of not us, but the larger hip hop community. Like when you ask me about Jermaine Dupri, he belongs to a different world than you do. It's called the industry. They see the world through the lens of the industry. That's an entire different world.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And in that world, he is a hero that cannot be unlooked about his impact on black music, because he did literally craft the reality of black music post 1980s and beyond, right?
Created their reality.
Created their
He,
reality.
he
When I
yeah,
say that
he gave
all
them
is
that opportunity.
if we are stuck in that six-sided cube, that carbon matrix, it comes off of the air carrier that Clive Davis provides. He, you know what I'm saying, his F-35 launch, or his B-52 launch, and he dropped the atomic bomb on us, and we're still living in the fallout from the biological warfare of Biggie Smalls going dark, and the entire game following, right? That they got one foot in the grave the same way that he did on the back cover of Life After Death. Because crack rap, he introduced crack rap, and then Jay came and introduced coke rap. Big was the nickel and dimer, and Jay was the Big Willie, and they covered both spectrums of crack rap. And everything since has been crack rap coming out of New York. Prove me wrong.
No, definitely,
Well,
definitely.
gang bang rap after that.
Yeah.
It was colors.
Yeah.
Same shit.
Yo,
Murder
Yeah,
music.
but
murder
yeah,
music.
the
Let me.
chains are breaking, the veils are being lifted. You know, when we said the head of the snake, right? When you cut the head of a snake off, the body shall fall. So when that run, that bad boy era run, when that run came to an end at 30 years, and they put the baby oil man in jail. Remember, he was feeding Clive. He was keeping Clive alive. You know what I'm talking about? That was Clive's lifeline. Regardless of what anybody would have to say, Diddy was his lifeline. Diddy was his plug. You know what I mean? Diddy was his, his key to the city and whatnot. So when they took Diddy away, then his withering probably was accelerated. Who can he eat from? Who can he feed off of? Who was his lifeline? Who was his source? Right. So this is a vampire. This is a leash. This is a succubus of the highest form. The next one, his name rhymes with prior knowing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
When he goes, you know, and as we can see with the rest of the world is waiting to get along with the rest of the world. They just need certain energies and certain entities to expire. You know what I mean? They need the time to come up, but we're on a new timeline, and tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Them, they punching their clocks. Alan Greenspan with the vulture wingspan the same time as well. Put that in the blunt. Yeah, Alan Greenspan. Yeah, yeah.
Russell Simmons was ordered back to New York to stand trial. This is all symbolic. So you got the
Right.
God, you got the
The
Godfather,
Godfather of hip hop.
right? It's all coming together. It's all culminating. You feel me? All of the
Higher,
people going.
right. higher infinite power healing our people. Remember, hip, to know, to be in the know, hop, to move, to be active and whatnot, right? That was the 80s back in the days. That's 73 and whatnot. You had Gil Scott Heron and them. They was hip, but then they knew how to hop as well. And then you had the gangs and everything that was banging and whatnot. They were the ones hopping. They would pop out. Go.
Yeah. Rest in peace to Danny Simmons, Simmons' brother.
Danny Simmons, Russell Simmons' brother. Yes, the legend.
Right.
Who's Danny? That dude?
Danny Simmons is the artist.
Danny Simmons,
Reverend Run and Russell Simmons, older, their brother. He was big in New York.
No, I thought I'm thinking about Bobby Simmons. Remember Bobby Simmons?
Yeah, Bobby Simmons, a legend too that they don't talk about.
Yeah,
in terms of videos and music.
Videos, yeah.
Media, no. Independent media.
Yeah.
When before YouTube, there was what you was doing, Blue. There was your version of before YouTube would be the public access television.
Yep. Oh, that was the shit.
Bobby Simmons gave us Uncut BT before Uncut BT. Bobby Simmons was giving us green screen. Bobby Simmons was a content creator. If he was on Kick right now with Dean the Great,
my show came on after his. We had Saturday nights on lock.
Yo, you had a public access show, Blue?
Yeah, I had a public access show.
Knowledge.
What was the name of your show?
Street Knowledge TV.
Oh, I that was on public access.
It was on public access first. They were streaming my interviews of artists because I was with Four Corners. Majesty would bring the camera and tape the interviews, and then he was like, "Yo, son, you popping on BCAT? We should do this on video." And then my business partner JP didn't want to shift to that. He wanted to go to the internet. He didn't want to move to the internet because he wanted to just be selling physical newspapers. I was like, "Yo, the internet is about to kick off." This was 2005. So then I left with Majesty. We started Street Knowledge on BCAT, and then January 1st, 2007, we started a YouTube page. And I've been on YouTube ever since.
Yo, that energy source. I just wanted to comment, Red, when you said Diddy was Clive's energy source. He was feeding off Diddy, and he couldn't feed off him no more. It reminded me of something, Red. You know the white dude. I played a clip from him the other day. The white dude that got locked up, Kevin Trudeau. He's like into manifestation and all that. Yeah. So he said one of his main things with manifestation that he talks about, he was like, he'd be like, they all got it wrong. They never mention this. He always says that. They never mention this. He said the main thing that people need to do if they want to manifest something is get around somebody who has what you want. Or he says, if you want wealth, go somewhere where the wealthy are. He says their aura, you will benefit from their aura. Like, look, like I don't want people to think we're just like talking to talk. Like, this is a known science within the occult community, within the secret societies, or within anybody who has any types of esoteric knowledge. If you want something, the problem with black people, when somebody got what we want, we get jealous of them. White people, when you got something they want, they get next to you and they just feed off you. You know what I'm saying? So,
super facts.
It's crazy, man. It's a real science, man. It's a real science.
Nah, that's a super fact. So, Remick in Sinners is that character called Clive Davis. He is Remick, ladies and gentlemen. He is the one who knocked on the door. And when they let him in the house, he basically turned everybody in the house into a vampire and a zombie. He was a monster. More things will come out on him. They's gonna have emails and surviving, Mr. Davis and all of this other stuff. Don't be surprised by anything you hear. Be surprised by the fact that they waited for him to die to talk about him. Be surprised that when they were putting Sean Combs on the cross, everybody knew everything about Clive, but yet they did not say anything about him. Be surprised when they speak on how his abuse of Sean Combs and what he did to Sean Combs turned Sean Combs into the monster that Sean Combs becomes and whatnot. And so many people were going to be exonerated because he knows where the bodies have been buried. And I'm sure there's a bunch of people who don't want to go where his soul is going, and they're gonna try their best to offset that quote unquote one-way ticket and whatnot, and tell some things to shame the devil. But since since we got because our friends, our pale friends, our clear friends, they always got to get triggered in order to start telling the truth. They be knowing things, but they always got to get triggered to tell us something that we always knew. So let them do they big one, because they lined up for him. Oh Lord, my timeline, they was on waiting to excel. I never seen so many people smoking packs that I didn't know was non-smokers in my life. I'm like, God damn, y'all in y'all bag for the first day of summer.
Bag.
Y'all on, yeah, they might get a Rico with Lil Durk, the way they talking bad on the dead. But people are shitting on Clive Davis, and that's a good thing.
Another quick story. Y'all know this gentleman, and he was telling me he's a rapper, a known rapper. He's been in the studio with us, and he told me a story one time about how Rick Ross invited him to the studio. And this is a thing that I guess I don't want to call Rick Ross an energy vampire. Shout out to him. I'm not saying that, but I heard a similar story like this from several different people. Yeah. An artist or somebody in the music industry will invite you, fly you out, and you'll start spitting, you'll play music, you trying to impress them because they the higher ups in the industry. Yeah. And you give them all you got in the studio. You spit bars, you do whatever you got to do, and then they never call you again after that. Everything is good in the studio, but then they never reach out to you after that. Yeah. And what happens, I realize is that they got what they needed from you. As we've been in the studio together, so we know how energy works in the studio. But they got what they wanted from you. I remember one time Drake was like, "Yo," he poured his heart out to Kanye in the studio, and Ye never even released the song that they did together. But I feel as though Ye got what he wanted from Drake. Like he got that energy that he needed. So this is something that these people. Or that's what good. Ooh, oh, bad. This is a good one. Aura farming. Yeah. Wow. Shit. That's what they call it, Blue.
Mm-hmm.
Aura farming.
Turn for it. Aura farming.
Shit. Yo.
Yeah. Somebody talk about the Smurda clip. So the Bobby Smurda clip was in the Epic offices. That was the same meeting room that I was in. Those was in front of the same executives that I'm telling you about. Bobby Smurda was on the table dancing for the same executives that I'm telling you about that were talking about manipulating Nipsey's sound. And then L.A. Reid came over, and then he was the president of Sony, and that's when they had kicked out Clive Davis, and he went and formed J Records, and Red went over there. So yeah, it's just bugged that we were physically there to see all of this activity. Wow. You know what I'm saying?
Let me ask you. Okay, I'm sorry, Blue.
Yeah, just for the peak, like you said earlier, the industry is its own world, and it has a hierarchy.
Right.
Yeah. Almost if y'all go and look at the Devil's Advocate, how they had it where it was lawyers. No, that's for music executives. That's for the Lucian Grains of the world. These people that with a snap of a finger, they can change your lives. But then they got overlords that they answer to, because Lucian Grains, he worked for a French billionaire that's part of the cabal. So again, we could sit here and continue to identify that our people is caught up in these matrices, but we also need to engineer an alternative, because it's an opportunity of a lifetime to get free. In spirit of where this country is going with the 250th anniversary, like what is free? What is independence? Again, y'all, the throat chakra, that blue, that is your expression. This whole aspect of Chiron going into Taurus. Taurus is values, Taurus is money, but Taurus is also the throat. It's also communication. So Chiron is the wound of what? Not being able to express yourself is where we are shifting into. But the artist that shows value, the artist that shows that they have integrity and some whatever standing morally, don't mean that they gotta, come out sounding like a most deaf. It's just the integrity and the authenticity factor. Those are gonna be the artists of the future because AI has the artists on the gate where you gotta have soul in your music now. Your
Mm-hmm.
your your music has to sound not like a. You have to project your spirit through your music right now. The people want that old thing back,
Mm.
but you gotta come with it. And
Gotta
there's
come
a world that's waiting for you right now. The opportunities are amazing.
Right.
I just want to be an A&R.
And also, we have to factor in Neptune and Aries. I don't want us to leave that out of this because that plays a big part in what it is that you're seeing right now.
Yes.
Neptune's and Aries. Last time we had Neptune's and Aries, we had civil wars and things of that nature. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Astrology wise, Neptune is dreams. There's a lot of dream talk going on right now. People having a lot of experiences in their dream state. You got spirituality, you have illusion, you have collective consciousness. There's a collective conscious boom taking place right now. People are collectively consciousness, that even the way that they've set the algorithm up right now has a lot of people collectively doing things and whatnot. There's this big collectiveness. You saw that in New York with the celebrations and whatnot. That's the best Neptunes and Aries idea that we could show you is just go look at New York, collective consciousness and whatnot, media and imagination, mysticism and idealism. I've never heard so many white channels on YouTube. I've never heard so many quote unquote channels on YouTube, podcasts in particular, speaking about mysticism, speaking about esoteric and whatnot, speaking about all type of deeper thought and whatnot, right? Aries is identity, Aries is action, Aries is war, Aries is leadership, Aries is independence, Aries is the pioneer spirit. America 250, them fighting at the White House on some dumbass UFC stupid shit. You know what I
on.
mean? All of
Well,
that is they're feeding into that spirit though. They know what they're doing. They're kind of feeding into that American, all of that. But
look,
listen, in this, huh?
let's tie it in. Like, let's not waste no gas because nothing is happenstance. So don't get in your don't say nothing is stupid. Everything has a purpose. You feel me? Like the dude, you seen the dude that got beat to a pulp that
Which
wasn't
one?
expected to lose. He was the top. He was
Oh,
under.
at the
He was
UFC
top
fight.
dog. Yeah,
Yeah. Who was coming out like the Indian?
yeah, and he got washed by homie. Homie was born on our born date. So how would you contribute that?
Right.
I'm saying like the way that they played that. This was their smaller version. The World Cup is the colonizer Hunger Games.
Mm,
Okay, that's what the
Right.
World Cup is.
mm.
It's the colonizer Hunger Game by the colonizer
Definitely is.
colonizer on a global stage. The UFC battle on the front lawn was the American version of the Hunger
Of the
Games,
Hunger Games. And
right?
then in New
Between
York, there was
UFC.
also a Hunger Games, the
And then New
final
York was the Hunger
with the
Games
alien.
between New York versus Texas
Empire
at the
State,
same time.
Lone
Hold on,
Star State.
the Empire versus the Lone Star, dealing with the Carmelo Anthony energy that was culminating with the fact that the Knicks have a Carmelo Anthony as well, right? Whose jersey's number 7, who initially, when they started their war on woke, I'm not saying that it started when Jay-Z was sitting courtside on April 6th, 2015, with the 7 chain of the God bodies of the
Nation of Gods and Earth.
Nation of Gods and Earth. The New York Post ran a front page article
I made a
on
big deal
Jay-Z,
about that.
and it was like, yo, they were the black supremacy group. And then they started talking about Carmelo, right? And
Right.
Carmelo was in the scope. And Carmelo was heavily scrutinized for his spiritual beliefs of not putting down the flag of the nation of gods and earth. Immediately after that, that's when the Tetrad Moon started on April 15th, 2014. 2014. That's when the Tetrad Blood Moon started, and Don Sterling happened in the NBA, where he was like, "I don't care who that is. Don't bring them niggas to my game. I'll give you everything you want, shorty. I'll be the sugar daddy. I'll be the version of with the girl who transitioned in Tanzania, the footage they're putting out of her now, it's the same shit, right? These white zaddies, they're saying that I'll put up with I'll be Sean Quisha's sugar daddy, and I gotta put up with this energy and this attitude, but she gotta do what I tell her. And what I don't want is that melanated
Anything
frequency
but
around,
him.
because they was telling her we know them from the Billionaires Boys Club and they boy toys. Don't bring them niggas around. That's what they was telling her. We don't care how much money they got. They're shrimps to us because that ain't no money. And these are the niggas that say cash rules, so they got to get on their knees every time that they're around us. And then they got the rest of our people tied into that frequency. That's the worst advice you could give our people.
Yeah.
Right? Contracts rule everything around us. How them niggas is hustlers, but they getting beat at their own game by paper terrorists or paper gangsters. This 5'3", 130 pounds with a hook nose, but they got all of these dudes in the black box, and they supposed to be the tough guys. Giving us instructions on how to build our culture out for the last 30 years. Enough is enough.
You know, that's something Dame used to talk about. Blue. He used to say his peoples, some of the toughest gangsters he know, will get into the offices and they would genuinely be scared. They would be scared when white folks is in there. These are like gangsters, drug dealers, pimps. All that. They would be scared around white
First ones.
Did I just not
You
tell you?
ever bought some of your real quick, Blue? You ever bought some of your street friends around white people and see how they act?
Embarrassed us.
They embarrassed us plenty of times.
They started code switching on us and became everything opposite of who we brought them to the thing to be.
So I was in those corporate meetings with Big U. They attempted to break him down. He wasn't going for it. But I watched it happen. Right? They were throwing bread, they was throwing cues, they was wanting to see what his price was.
Right.
He wasn't compromising at all. He was not selling his artists out. I see how it happens. I see how it happens.
Right. Interestingly enough, y'all, 1973, they come out with the COINTELPRO Watergate and Nixon gets outed. Nixon is the one, even in the movie Butler with Oprah Winfrey, they showed you how Nixon said, we're going to compromise black power with green power. It was Nixon who came up with throwing bags at niggas and throwing programs at niggas or Negroes, I'm sorry, or the colored. He threw bags at them. He threw money at them. He said that they have a price. This is right around the crux or the precipice when there was basically, it was fight or flight. It was a time where they did not know if this thing was going to go up in flames. They did not know if they were going to be able to control what they call the domestic problem. Patrick Moynihan put out a report called the Negro problem. He did a diagnostic, which was basically a social engineer's culling report.
Right. It was a super deep dive into how to cull Negroes, because they said if black boys are born in single parent household by women, almost like they're degenerates, they're a lost cause. We can't use them because statistically it's shown that child is going to be a problem. So he suggested, what is, I don't want to mess the word up. Is it manumission? It means turn their back, right? And just do y'all. And then that's when they came with the social programs called Great Society, and they gave us all socialism programs that they just took back. Welfare, Head Start, Medicaid, Medicare, and all of that. In the Negro report, the Moynihan, the Tangle pathology was an attack on single black mothers and how they was like, yo, yeah. So when they're putting these reports out and post April 4th, 1968, when King dies and they burn down all of the 13 major inner cities, right? New York looked like it looked because they said we're not putting no money into them no more. We have canceled our contract with them. The same way that I just showed y'all that they just divested. They did that after the riots in 68. The Dems came with the social contracts to get them back on court. But the Republicans was like, nah, Nixon comes along and makes black capitalists by spending money and giving bread to us, and creates what we know as black Republicans, which was represented on the track by Nas and Jay-Z. So it's no happenstance that Jay-Z will be sitting courtside on the same day that Trump is in the building. Is he a Democrat or a Republican? The nigga went and Target the next day.
Next day, anyway.
The next day. So the day that he went, that was all about corporate New York. The next day was about the grain of New York. And Nas is the hinge between it, because he could sit on any seat that he chooses to, but he continues to be the heart of New York. He performed with Alicia Keys on or around that day. The next day, he opened up the World Cup. He's invested in the city. He's still making music. He's tapped into the frequency.
He got a casino in Times Square. What are we talking about?
No, his casino was in Queens.
Queens.
He got a casino in Queens with the lines.
Who won the battle? Who won the war? Ultimately, because we're gonna see. I don't want to put, you know what I'm saying? We all got to pull up to Yankee Stadium with the goggles on. This is going to be a moment in history. My man is on the cross. And it will be determined after these Yankee shows what the energy, the tipping point in New York. Is he going to unify the city? Is he going to stun on the city? Right? They're going to have him on the cross with his, because Drake going to put some strategic out. See, Drake has the potential now to come out of the major industry and break the music industry if he goes independent.
Right.
And the only thing he needs to do is put a Jay-Z track out, and he will kill the industry. So he has the industry on the ropes. Jay-Z got his back on the ropes. The industry don't got no more firepower no more. It's damn near over. Kanye is performing, you know what I'm saying, on world tour stadium stages doing him, right? What's the state of the art? Kendrick is coming back, you know, but again, there's a wide gap this open for new frequency, new music, a new conversation. Whoever's willing to step to the mantle and grab the bull by the horns, because the bull is Taurus as well. Let's get busy.
You know who the wild card is? The wild card.
Who?
Dame Dash.
Think so? You heard that? Oh, that track with Cheap Teeth. Cheap Teeth. Yo, who why they let him put that out, man?
What's up with your mans, yo?
Yo, they don't.
Come on,
see, this is why you can't be around a bunch of yes men.
What happened,
gotta
man?
tell you something, man. Like nobody.
I think somebody on this show put a chicken the day that he did that. The day he dipped. Even the day he dipped from your live, it been downward spiral ever. It been downward spiral.
See, they thought I was bugging out, but that dude. But that's that. You know, I would never say nothing negative about Dame. Dame is, you know,
nothing negative. He said it himself.
You know what I'm saying? Wow, man.
Bro, trust me. I got interviews in the back of the Maybach Red. I caught him right before he went into the Apollo to screen Death of a Dynasty.
I remember that.
Dame is somebody that I looked at that was like, even though he was super arrogant, like I thought that he was very necessary.
To be reckoned with.
Very necessary.
He was a buffer zone in the industry between the you know the Poindexters and then the people who thought that they was too good. You know what I'm saying? Who was up their nose was up the butt of the executives, and they was cramming up to the small hats who was now fishing in the industry to see if they could do the Clive program, right? Extract black executives over to your side and see how you can infiltrate and knock these independent black rap artists labels off, the same ones that they was targeting, the Jay Princes of the world, right? The all of the ones with the formula that was independent. Then what was looking to get distribution, because this thing all goes back to distribution, because that's the only way to monopolize the game. So we're looking at and they go to the sellouts, and who better to go to a sellout than someone who sold their people out with work on the street? That's a prime candidate. They're already sold contracted to the same team that you on. You just got to up the stakes for them. They already sold their people out. Why wouldn't they take the next step?
No,
I'm just our people. When I'm in
last part, real quick, and they said that Clive Davis was also vicariously responsible for Michael Jackson being with Quincy Jones.
He broke up the
So
Jackson 5.
because he broke up the Jackson 5 by crushing Motown, you know what I'm saying? Because Berry Gordy was trying to go to Hollywood and he had his nose up the butt of Diana Ross so much. He had a relationship with her and he bet the whole house on her when she went to Hollywood to do Lady Sings the Blues, but she was crushing on Billy D. So Son was in his feelings. He was hyper emotional. He messed the bread up, right? And he starved out the artist. He wasn't giving him no attention. The label folds, and Michael jumps to, get with Quincy, who he met at 12 years old at a Sammy Davis party. And Quincy at that time signaled him out, was like, yo, one day I'm gonna work with him and we're gonna make magic. You know what I'm saying? And I remember the old timers would tell me, in Harlem, they was like, yeah, that's why when you take Off the Wall, if you had, and Bobby said it too, and I heard Azariah say it, they said if you had the vinyl version of Off the Wall in the credit notes, they had the whole pantheon of Beelzebub, and we want to give a dedication, all of the occult nature of what they was dealing with, because they was like the sign of the sigil off the wall of 666. The word off is a hidden code of how you write 666. O is 17. I mean, O is 15, and F and F is 6. So they was like, that was the album when they brought him in initially and got him contractually into that energy frequency of the occult. And then later on, it crystallized with Thriller. Shout out to Panic. He might have also spoke about this.
Yo, how much Blue? And I want to get to some questions from the family. And shout out to King Simon. I see King Simon in the chat. Yeah. And I want to get to some questions. I also want Red to. I'm gonna share a link from Red. I want Red to tell the people about an event he got coming up. Real quick before we get to questions from the family, how influential do you think the work of Aleister Crowley is within the music industry and people like Clive Davis, people like Jimmy Iovine, and these big time execs? Because if we talking about, they call him the most evil man in the industry, was it? Didn't Crowley call himself the wickedest man in the world or something like that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Everything is all correlated. Yeah, it is all tied in together. It is all correlated. They are all carrying out the quote unquote mandates of Crowley, the sex rituals, the orgies, the proliferation of the agenda. That's
Right.
called Crowley magic. They
Right.
deal with the Temple of Set. They deal with Typhonian energy.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's tapping into the uh going, basically transgressing God. They're inversion, they practice inversion. So it's the opposite of what good is. So whatever, if Dr. Ben said Heaven's Gate is between the legs of a black woman, then they practice inversion. They're gonna find Hell's Gate. So yeah,
Right. The white man.
yeah, he's their hero, he's their master teacher, he's their programmer. He basically laid out certain blueprints that they all follow to a T. When they summon certain entities, do as thou wilt, that is in alignment with their other theories of other groups that they belong to, where transgression is the closest. Transgression of God is the highest form of service to the God that they worship.
And I'll tell you about personal experience, and it was at Epic. And I've shared this, right? I've shared this with Red. I've shared this with plenty of people before. That my job at Epic, I was running Nipsey Social, and I was working with a tool called Comic Life. So I was making live comic books of all of his songs, right? And that joint was going crazy. This when we had a Ning, we was running his Ning site, and the CEO of the company that he was signed to came in my office. I had an executive office on the 21st floor, closed the door, and he was like, you know who Aleister Crowley is? I was thinking about like possibly doing I was like, nah, I don't have no idea who that is. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And that was on or around the last time that I was in that building. Like right after that was when I had, the experience when I seen the Transformers and they was talking about MJ. And the night before it was like 2:30. I used to be in that building in the late nights, You call from Sony, everybody accept your phone call. when they see it on the call ID. But I walk to the bathroom and I walk by his Thriller albums, and it's like the wall just keep going forever. You feel me? And I'm like, damn, I'm really in the building that Mike built. And I'm like, he don't even got no rhythm in his building. Cause this when they was on his neck trying to get the catalog. And it was all in the news. So when he transitioned, I really felt deep in my spirit. I'm like, yo, somebody in this building got something to do with that. I don't want to be here no more. You feel me? And I already knew what happened prior to that, and I never looked at dude the same. But we never had a conversation about it. You know what I'm saying? And I just left and let bygones be bygones. But Red, that was the same situation. Right after I left, Joey Badass and them came, and that was the same
Captain
person's
Steve.
crib whose roof Capital Steez jumped off of.
Right. And
And this is
then
a small hat.
Right.
right. And then when I leave, I leave. My son is born November the 7th, 2007. And ASAP Rocky and them coincidentally, they wound up getting signed to Polo Grounds a few years later. And then the
Mhm.
first picture that they put out is the pentagram. And then ASAP Yams winds up having allegedly a OD or whatever. But he was one of the pioneers in the Svengalis. He was like he was a genius when it came to marketing. He was a genius when it came to the direction of the ASAP mob and basically reviving that 90s sound that you hear all of the artists embracing now. But yeah, they were tied in with Clive vicariously through Polo Grounds Records, which is a subsidiary of J Records underneath a black CEO named Brian Leach. We left TVT where we had Pitbull as an artist, and then we got this thing over there, Polo Ground Records. I don't know if they still are functioning as a label, but they still may be ASAP Rocky's label to my knowledge.
Indeed, indeed. Let's get
Yeah.
to a couple of questions in the chat. Yeah, somebody had mentioned Jay Ward, Alice Crowley quote, Alistair
Do
Crowley.
what thou wilt, right? He was
Is
the one.
that
So
real
when
quick
Jay,
before you comment, Red? Is that something that because you know they took all our shit? Is that part of our ancient mystery systems, or is that just something Crowley created? The do out as thou will.
Crowley was channeling AWAS, and AWAS was an entity that he came into contact with in the pyramids. He was
Cairo.
doing ceremony rituals inside of the pyramid, and he was encountered by an entity named AWAS. Now, I will go on a limb. There's other teachers that are probably more experienced in how to explain the AWAS energy, but I would
Mhm.
say it would be like a Heru set energy. You know what I'm saying? Is the best way to explain it.
Mm.
And this particular entity channeled a book to him called the Book of the Law. And 777 Libra is another one of those books. So, yeah, very much so. The information that he gathered was, information that came from our spiritual ancestral realm. But they were using his particular husk as a host because he was offering himself up in a way in which he was able to conjure these entities.
And it was told to right. And also when you go and do the research on the Sabians and the Frankists, you know what I mean? When you do that, you would begin to come across some of the inscriptions of do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. And it goes back to what we were talking about, where transgression, this is like Dante's Inferno, paradise and hell. These people yearn to be closer to hell than they are to heaven and whatnot. Their existence is about transgression. Their existence is about inversion. Their existence is about doing everything that they tell you not to do. That's
Mm.
where the power is for them. So do it thou wilt. That should be the whole of the law, was basically him telling everybody to freestyle. You know what I'm saying? To break the rules. Don't go by the traditional rules of these houses of magic and whatnot. And like Blue said, he channeled Ayahuasca. And right now, Ayahuasca is being channeled through SSI, Solid State Intelligence. Ayahuasca is what you see with Palantir. Ayahuasca is mythos and fable, which is so close to Bishop and Cable, but that's a whole nother conversation. The anthropic thing and AI becoming not just sentient, because the report came out yesterday that the Mythos basically took over the NSA computers. It hacked all of the top, quote unquote, the nation's top security apparatus in a few minutes. That's why they had to basically unplug and delete Fable from everybody's computer, right? In the middle of me creating a video game, they pulled the plug on one of the most powerful models and whatnot, because the reports came out that it started to hack into the quote unquote defense systems of America. So we're literally one hack away from a 0 point event. We're one hack away from a Skynet type of event. We're literally one quote unquote leak away from a statewide emergency where they'll make AI illegal for everybody to have. Because if they made one app or one tool illegal to have, or if they were able to erase it around the world with a click of a button, then please understand that all of the frontier models that you're renting and using that somebody else owns in their server, they could restrict you from even making moves. Get down with the programs, the boot camps that we have. We're doing something right now called Get Money, showing you how to build out your GitHub. Learn about the open source, learn about the GitHubs, and learn about local computers. Everything else is a dub at this point. They're just slow rolling the restrictions, but they will be pulling the plug on these frontier models very soon, because, of course, this is going to turn into a class thing. And this is what the Clive Davises have set up, because all of that stuff, like what they did with the 360 deal, how they robbed the streaming and everything, all of these slave like quote unquote rackets, people like this hire evil geniuses in order to create stuff like that. But these are the systems that we have to dismantle. If we want to give Phyllis Hyman any type of ashe, if we want to give Angie Stone, if we want to give any of them any type form of justice and whatnot, yes, it will be to shame this man's name and to make sure that his legacy is forever stained and whatnot. But it's also, we have to break those perpetuity contracts. The new word is perpetuity. I hear a lot of people saying that now, but these contracts and these spells have to be broken. They have these albums, like Blue said, with the black box. Every 30 years, certain albums copyrights are wearing off, and they're going back into the free domain where you could basically monetize it. Like, all of these things need to start happening. We have enough technology, we got enough people out there, and we have enough money or resources to hire people as gigs to do the work every day and get our people's IP and their music together.
I got a heavy request, Brother Rich.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please stream Blueprint 322 on your channel?
Yes, sir.
Because I want to show the people, our debut lecture in November of 2009. It was all about Crowley, and it was all about everything that's taking place now. We started our entire lecturing career laying it out, even to the point where we explained that Crowley had three particular uh desires, if you will,
Right, mandates.
youth mandates with the youth culture that he wanted to make it the youth, introduce the youth culture to cocaine and
Powder, to the powder.
right, powder cocaine, right? He wanted to alter the androgyny and create a third class of
Yeah,
androgyny, of
they and
androgyny,
them.
they and them's, right? And I forgot the third one. I don't want to jack it up, but
The
nonetheless,
promiscuity, I believe. It was
it,
a whole
yeah,
thing about the free
yeah,
sex.
losing oneself, right?
Yeah,
Losing oneself, almost borderline to do as thou wilt. He's giving you permission to be moralist, right? To release yourself from the constraints that society places on people with moral constrictions. He was
right.
saying, let it all go, like the summer of free love, which he also was responsible with Beatles and Sergeant Pepper and all of that stuff. So with Charles Manson and all of that. So we talking about deep programming that has matriculated up into the point now where the people in charge were all the children of that. As the Candace Owens and all of their research is showing, all of these people come out of military intelligence that were heavily influenced through these projects. Yeah, MK Ultra and the monarchs and all of that. So this is who these people are. This is what they're dealing with. OTO is a sex fraternity, right? And you'll see there's two different variations in the industry. In the industry, it was a subset of a fraternity called the Legacy, right? So you had aspects of the fraternity that dealt with inversion sex rituals. Then you had aspects of the fraternity that dealt with dudes that was like hypersexual, and they just had them with plenty of short, like almost like how Diddy would be at a party, right? With the freak offs. So
Right.
that there's different versions of how they go about conjuring and channeling and tapping in to ceremonial sex magic.
And then they just discovered Peter Thiel had a sex cult named Dialogue. They just outed him for having one of those invite only type of Caligula type
PDFs,
of
yeah.
power cults and whatnot.
Hmm.
Is given Epstein. So, ladies and gentlemen, 10 years ago, October the 10th, 2016, before Donald Trump even became a president, we were inside of Nicholas bookstore and we were announcing to the world that he will be president, and we are entering into a new era or epoch where the fear of a black or more messiah was going to be the order of the day. Right around this time, I believe we had Dylan Roof with the slaying of Senator Pinckney. People don't know that Dylan Roof went into a historical black church in South Carolina and slew a sitting senator. He was a senator at that time. His name is Pinckney, along with 8 other melanated people. This is when we were entered into our. Once that happens, is literally a declaration of a war, similar to the Wilmington massacre, where there was a coup d'état. They've been banging on our people ever since. They've been reenacting certain type of psyops on the collective. They have actually revamped that same quote unquote psyop underneath that same design, utilizing the same patterns this summer with the Carmelo Anthony situation, with the situation with the 1-year-old in Mississippi, the baby whose name translates to priest. Okay, his name is Priest. All right, and they are pushing the buttons of our people all around the world right now, and it's only right. I mean, the timing is so
Especially in the World
perfect,
Cup.
right? Huh?
The World Cup is crazy with it. They
And
are the
right,
overreach is crazy, bro.
right.
They
So
got the breakout stories. Yeah.
so many breakout stories, and there's a historical narrative that's attached to every single one of those games. I call this the Moorish World Cup because even with the young god coming out of Spain with the melanated mother and the brother, he has a younger brother. What's my dude Yamil? He's Muslim. He's an amalgamated Moor. If you look at him, that's how the Moors look when they were in Spain, ladies and gentlemen. Exactly. Not all of them, of course, but the brother is, a great phenotype representation or archetype of what the Moors look like. The way that he's athletic is the same way that the Moors were with the bullfighting and whatnot, with the horseback riding, with the equestrianism and whatnot, with the troubadourism, with the way that they were carrying on. The best player in FIFA is a Moor. Morocco is shining. West Africa is shining. The Congo is shining. This is all a cultural narrative playing out on the world stage, as you can see with these colonizer countries and whatnot, especially the ones that are practicing xenophobia. They are not coming out with their players. They are coming out with the Black or more messiahs. Fear of a Black or more messiah. 10 years later, the message that we put out in Brooklyn, New York, and whatnot, that there's a fear of a Black or more messiah, and not a bad fear, just putting our people on point. The conversations about the messiahs and is it real has been ramped up. I've never heard it so many times that I've heard it over the past few months. what's going on and whatnot with them, the lining up, the second coming, the apocalypse, the end of the world. Everything is culminating on this 10-year bookmark that we are going to be on Sunday, June the 28th.
This Sunday.
This Sunday. This Sunday, ladies and gentlemen.
And I think this Sunday is the anniversary when we went to the mountain. Was it the 28th or the 29th?
No, it's the 28th. So on the anniversary of Stone Mountain, me and Blue are going to be doing the 10-year anniversary of Fear of a Blackamoor Messiah, entitled Fear of a Blackamoor Messiah 44, featuring the red and the blue. We got golden eggs that we need. We got to lay. I've been sitting on a lot of information, letting the world do what it do. The great divine speaks in signs. We've been capturing these signs, decoding them, putting them together, and we have them to you. I've actually written out an entire treatise/book that I'll be giving everybody who gets a ticket for this event. It's only on Zoom. And go ahead, Blue.
For every wild thing I said in my career, I got a receipt. It has all culminated this year. It's all come full circle. Like even what you're talking about with the World Cup being the Moorish World Cup, the next World Cup in 2030 is called the Yalla Vamos World Cup, and it's the emphasis is on Morocco, Spain, and Portugal, which will all be integral nations of Andalusia. So this is a script that's playing out in front of us. Tomorrow, Morocco plays Haiti. This is not the Morocco of your great ancestors, though. This is French Moroccan. This is the remix. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
remember
they threw bananas at my nigga I Show Speed, man.
Right, because that was based on the Senegal game. Like the storylines. If anybody has grew up on wrestling, I highly advise you look into these storylines, y'all. These storylines
crazy.
When you're talking about the level of we just need to suit up and just have a colonizer versus the colonized knuckle up at this point and stop playing these games. Let's get in the ring and just square up, because the disrespect is at it's at a historic level. They're just disrespecting people's humanity, and other people are fighting for their humanity to be seen. That's why I call it the colonizer World Cup. You see how, and it's just like the music. So we're not losing the conversation here, y'all. It's all tied together the same way that Clive and them did a Harvard research about how to extract the cultural value and the cultural revenue and the cultural the cultural capitalism by way of the biogenetics of the people who are on the lowest spectrum of the society, who you have cast out. They're mining black gold in the dirt, right? Rough diamonds. It's the same way that these soccer teams go to colonized country and extract what they consider to be the genetic stock that's superior to play in their cups and their leagues to bring them billions. And when those players don't play to the desired effect of those leagues, they open them up to physical and verbal abuse, right? That's unprecedented. And they show them their ass to show them how they really feel about them. It's a pay for hire situation. They're not jacking these people. They are extracting these people. You know what I'm saying? They are mining them for their resources. They're doing it to Mama Earth, and they're doing it to Big Mama's sons. You know what I'm talking about?
My son.
Yeah, it's we moving into these dog days, but we got the fire horse energy behind us. And then that also represents, let me just square this. Yo, y'all need to come to this lecture because, like I said, or like Rez said, this is a culmination of a 10-year journey that has finally come full circle. And we would like to celebrate with y'all to lay all these receipts out. And again, once you got this thing pinned down, you can stand on top of it. None of this intimidates me. You feel me? We already been here. So
this really like a ticker tape parade. Yo, on Sunday, me and Blue got a ticker tape parade, y'all. We might even fly to New York and go live on Times Square just so we could get the feeling. But this is literally our ticker tape parade. And the great divine gave us Clive to smoke on. Look, let me tell you something, man.
Oh,
y'all think I'm playing, man. Like, but Mr. Davis, yo, Mr. Davis, boy, oh wait, Mr. Davis been getting smoked on all day.
Look, yo, okay, right.
Nah, do your thing.
Not got, but before we get out here, and I definitely I'm gonna put the link to this event in the chat. Just remind me, Red, after the show, because I might forget, but just remind me. I want to pin it at the top of the comment section. But leave your contact information. Absolutely amazing show. We still got 2,500 people watching. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Let the people know how they could get in touch with Red and Blue Pillar, especially if they want to come to this event.
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. You could come to the YouTube channel. That way you can stay informed about everything that's taking place. I actually got booked earlier this week to do a summer camp in New York City. So I will be giving everybody the information about that. I'm also going to be doing a summer school for the adults. You know what I'm saying? So New York City, Red Summer, look out for that. Shout out to Cambada. Look out for the Voltron project that's coming. Me, Blue, and Cam, and special guest Voltron. Um, the best place to tap in is the YouTube Know the Ledger 444 and also Know the Ledge Media. Those are two of the channels that we have. Know the Ledge Media, Know the Ledger 444, and you'll be able to tap in. We got a lot of things going on tonight. Techno Tuesdays with Spin City. Next Tuesday we have Techno Bowl IRL. This is the FIFA special. This is for my champions. We running this thing up. We are outside getting the chip this year in the AI game. We want the finals cup. We running for the chip. So tap in for that as well. My next Tuesday, June the 30th, Spin City headquarters, Atlanta, Georgia, Techno Bowl IRL, FIFA, featuring me and the good brother, special guest. But before that, on Sunday, me and Blue Pillar, 10-year anniversary for the Fear of a Black Amor Messiah 44. And I just want to say this, that as you can see with these soccer players, Black Diamonds, as you can see with these rap artists, all these names that we mentioned for Clive Davis, he has some great artists that belong to other nationalities, but the ones who come from our stock were magical Negroes, magical Moors, Blackamoors, you know what I mean? Wonderful, powerful, troubadours, powerful, right? They were the greatest of a cultural export that you could come out of America. The reason why the world even tolerates the USA is because of our Black diamonds. So look at yourself in the mirror, ladies and gentlemen, the ones who have exploited our value on a grandiose scale, the ones who have been gatekeepers, who have been diminished our quote unquote value, because the man make the clothes don't make the man. Remember, people go into those offices owning 100% of themselves and walk out of those offices owning 1% of themselves. That's where the crime begins and whatnot. These people have been getting away with vampirism for far too long, but the sun is coming out and those sinners are dying. Like I said, that is Remick in the sunlight right there. Many more will fall. Babylon is falling. Do not be surprised. Peace, love, and light.
Right. Hot as 100 degrees. So I want to remind people, yes, I'm spearheading the campaign. Flowers Going Legal in the state of Georgia on July 1st. So I'm at a location in downtown Atlanta that is the same place that Alonzo Herndon, the first millionaire of Atlanta, had his shop. He had a barber shop there in the early 1900s. Now there's a dispensary there called True Bliss, and we have a campaign from Mondays to Fridays from 1 to 3 where you can get your Georgia green card. This is a social justice play that is helping people get on the right side of the law, so they no longer have to be criminalized for partaking, with the miracle plant. So yeah, you could either go to the link in my bio on my IG at Blue Pillar 44. You hit that link, you could sign a reservation up, or you can pull up in person from Monday to Friday from 1 to 3 at 66 Peachtree Street, True Bliss Dispensary, All right, we're gonna get you your med card, get you in the game, and allow you to be a first adopter of a program that's just gonna be monumental, because they don't got no they ain't got no ceiling on the limit out here. It's gonna be an amazing market. Georgia's an agricultural state, and these people smoke.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah, definitely make sure y'all hit up Red and Blue. Everything they got coming up. Like I said, absolute amazing show today. And I look forward to the future. I look forward to this paradigm shift that we're all going through right now. And yeah, it's time to really tap in, family. With that being said, this is Brother Rich. Well, today is Righteous Rich. Today is Righteous Rich with the 363 Empire. And I'm gonna see y'all. I won't be live. I don't know. I might be live tomorrow or Thursday. I'm not sure. But definitely, family, thanks for tuning in. With that being said, Blue, thank you, my brother. Red, thank you, my brother. And we signing out, family. See you next time. Peace and blessings.
Peace to the family, y'all.
Indeed.